Happy New Year to everyone. Welcome to the first Dr. Spotfire session of the year. Starting strong, I'm your host, Jose Aguirre, and I'm here with AD Klassen and Atir Alatar, in which we'll be doing a demonstration on how the Spotfire Copilot works. At a very high level, the Spotfire Copilot extension is an AI tool that transforms how users interact with the Spotfire platform. Hi guys, do you want to say hi to the audience, Atir and AD?
Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year, and welcome to the first Dr. Spotfire in 2026.
Hey,
Yeah, hey everyone, and thanks for having me.
Atir, for everyone to have to be on the same page, you want to explain for those who doesn't know what Spotfire is?
Yeah, sure. So we define Spotfire as a visual data science platform, and then the role of the platform is basically to make smart people work smarter. We're trying to connect the interactivity part, the visualization, and then the analytics part all in one platform. So that will facilitate accessing the data, visualizing it, analyzing it, and then sharing the final results with the end users.
Okay, awesome. So we have a quick confidentiality disclaimer, and our motto is learning is not driven by answers, but by questions. So keep the questions coming as questions spark curiosity and lead to a deeper understanding. Because questions challenge us, the way we think. It's a way to think critically, and it's a way to seek answers that drive the learning process. So keep the questions coming. You can save them at the end, or just as we go, we'll be monitoring the questions and we'll address them as we see fit. So in this session, again, this is the Spotfire Copilot demo, and we have A.B. Klassen, data scientist from Spotfire, and Atir Alatar, also data science, the principal data scientist, and myself, your host in this session, Jose Aguirre. So with that, let's kick it off. Atir, you want to go over the agenda?
Yeah, so today we will talk about a couple of use cases for the Copilot in industry. AV will talk about a demo from the manufacturing domain about the equipment effectiveness using the Copilot. And then AV also will go over the architectural diagram of the Copilot. And then we will also talk about one of the use cases for the Copilot from the oil and gas domain. Meanwhile, feel free to send your questions to our LinkedIn or our YouTube live broadcast. And then Jose will be doing the closing remarks.
Perfect. So with no further to say, we're going to go straight to the demo and then show the architecture, and then we'll go back and jump to another demo if we have time. Oh, I have to. All right, there we go.
All right, thanks, Jose and Athir. So here I have just a very general overall equipment effectiveness demo. On this particular page, we are looking at availability, and we want to kind of expand this application, especially for maybe those who are new to the topic of OEE or overall equipment effectiveness. So right now I'm going to open up the Copilot panel, and for those who haven't seen Copilot before, there's always a welcome message here that is customizable when you deploy this into your own environment, as well as some buttons here to help you get started playing around with Copilot. The first thing I want to do actually is to provide some additional context. So I actually have some documentation on OEE analytics loaded, and I'll dive more into this when we go over the architectural diagram. But I just want to start by anchoring myself and asking, what are the core elements of OEE? And here we're using a process called RAG, or Retrieval Augmented Generation. So we are querying documentation, and we have citations to that documentation. And here we get our response of what the core elements are. So we have availability, which is what we're focusing on, performance and quality, and we even see how each of those elements are calculated themselves. So now I'm just going to go back to our Spotfire mode, and we can get started with developing and asking more questions about our data. So the first thing I want to ask is, what city and line ID has the highest average availability over time? And so this is what we call a specific data question. Again, we are querying the data, the metadata from our data tables, and a query then gets executed directly in the Copilot panel. So we can see that in Bangalore, line ID 12 is the one with the highest overall availability. Now I think, what about the lowest? We want to look at the other end of it. It looks like line 12 is doing really well with about 81%. And we can see that line 6 has dropped dramatically from that. And so its overall average availability is about 60%. Now we can actually create a visualization to look at all of the different line IDs in Bangalore, see what the differences are. So I think a box plot would be good for this. So I'm going to say create a box plot to show availability for each line ID in Bangalore. And so what's happening here is, again, we're sending this query out, and Copilot is returning a structured object, which is in the form of a box plot in this case. So our markings are still applied. We can see across the different line IDs. So yeah, we see 12 quite high there, whereas when we look at 6, that is by far the lowest. And this is now a native visualization, just like any other visualization. So we can play around with it. We can move it around, play around with the whole page. But I think we need a little bit more visualizations on this page in particular. So I'm also going to add in, I want to look at the different types of downtime with availability. So I'm going to say visualize downtime by type as a pie chart. And so we can, again, go ahead and click Create Visualization. We can see now what the distribution of downtime by type is. We can even change the title by type. And we can see that there is non-scheduled down, scheduled down, and unscheduled down. And we can see especially the unscheduled down is a large sector. And so that would be something we want to dive more into and be able to address the root causes of that directly. Now, I also want to see how these different down types are looking over time. So I'm going to say visualize unscheduled down over time. And as you can see, I'm not specifying a particular type of visualization here. So it looks like Copilot automatically created a line chart. Now I can go ahead and say, make this a bar chart instead. I think a bar chart would show the changes between the different months a little bit better. And so now we can, in conversation with Copilot, say, modify this or change that visualization, create this new one. So we see here we have another visualization type that gets created. And finally, if we wanted to do some reporting or some explanations, we could start by explaining the entire page here. So what's happening is we're capturing an image of the entire page with our different visualizations and generating very high level explanations that you can start with. And then you'll see later we can dig deeper into each particular visualization as we see fit. So we see here what our box plot contains, our pie chart is here, and then availability trend, and we have downtime over each month. And say, now I want to explain this particular bar chart. I can just go ahead, or this box plot, I can just go ahead and click box plot. And now the actual plot data is going to be used to create a more in-depth explanation of that particular visualization. sometimes this does take a little bit of time as we're seeing it here in real time, especially with a visualization with that much data. But we've gotten our results back. So we can see it talks about overall trends in availability. And we actually have those summary statistics that we were looking at earlier incorporated in our explanation. We have line ID 12 and 6 highlighted as the highest and lowest medians. We have some outliers that Copilot found for us, and talking about the overall variability, some maybe unusual observations, again, seeing that there's like a cluster of low availability lines, some overall statistics, and a nice conclusion to wrap it up. And Copilot and myself, I always want to remind people, like any other AI product, Copilot can make mistakes. So it's always important that we verify our results. So in this case, we can verify the data tables in our visualizations. We can verify, okay, we already saw that line ID 6 and 12 did have those highs and lows. So we have successfully kind of been the human in the loop for this. And now we have really fleshed out this page, and we're able to pass this along to anyone else on our team.
Maybe I have a question.
Yeah.
So if you scroll up in the response of the Copilot,
Mhm.
I see that the output, so the output is hyperlinked. So what happens when you click on one of these kind of like visualizations that hyperlinked in the response?
Yeah, so this visualization explanation for the box plot was actually generated by me clicking on this box plot hyperlink. So I can do it again for another one, let's say downtime date. So this is that line chart that we created down here. By clicking on that hyperlink, we've basically said to Copilot, okay, can you go explain this one visualization in depth now? So with one click, Copilot is now thinking, coming up with a response, and soon that'll be returned to us, very similar to the box plot with, key statistics, unusual observations, outliers. So as you can see here, that explanation has now been generated, and we could add that to a report as well.
Okay.
That's very powerful. I have another question regarding automation. For example, if I want to clean up the legend from the box plots on the top left, can I say, hey, can you just remove the legend? I don't know how to do it. Will it give me instructions on how to do it, or will it do it?
Yeah, we could actually, it would give instructions. That's a great question, Jose. So how do I get rid of the legend in a box plot?
Well,
Really
if you ask him how, he's going to tell you how. But if you instruct him, hey, I want to remove the legend, do it for me. That's kind of my question.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. So you could ask how to do it, and so the response would come back to you with instructions there. I think if I said remove the box plot,
The legend.
or remove the legend from the box plot. We'll see. I'm not sure if it will, because it does by default. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't remove the legend. Yeah, so we have some limitations in place for exactly what modifications can and can't be made, because again, we do want a human in the loop at all times. We call this the co-pilot and not the pilot for that reason. But again, we have instructions of how to go ahead and remove the legend. And so that also makes Copilot a really great learning tool. You can, learn exactly how to configure and, manipulate various data tables, visualizations, using Copilot as kind of your guide or your instructions.
Yeah, it's also very powerful, as we're going to see in a different demo, or I don't know if in yours, but it can create data functions for you, and that remove a lot of the burden from the user instead of going through like all the steps. When it's something simple, you can just follow along the steps, but when it's more complicated, you can either learn how it's done or have, in some cases, a Copilot to do it.
Yeah, I actually have an example to create a data function as well. Would people want to see that?
Yeah, why not? We have another question, but we'll let you do the demo and then we address the question from a LinkedIn.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can make this my last one of this demo, but I did want to showcase the create data function capability. So the one that I was thinking of was to basically forecast availability. We have, historical data of our availability across various cities and line IDs. So let's say create a data function to forecast availability across all line IDs in city Bangalore. And I'm going to use Holt Winters as my forecasting algorithm. So I always like to pull up our data function properties. This is where you should really go to, author, register, create new data functions. But you can see here that when I click create data function, that pops up right away. So that data function has now been created. We have some explanations of going into it, but of course, we want to keep the human in the loop. We want to take a look. The code looks good. Again, if we had a little bit more time, I might go into this and play around with it, but I do want to save time for the architecture and the daily drilling reports demo. But I just wanted to showcase that here, the inputs and outputs are pre-configured, as well as a description, a descriptive title as well. And all we would have to do is to go ahead in the edit parameters menu and actually just link up what the input table is and generate an output table. And that would be as fast as you could possibly create a data function, in my opinion. Anyone who's created a data function by hand probably knows it takes a lot longer than that. So this is also a very exciting thing that Copilot is able to do.
Yeah, that's great, where you can command and then you have the option for Copilot to create that data function for you. And that's kind of something that I was expecting also for the legend, but I didn't test it before. And with that, we have a comment from one of the LinkedIn users that says, does Copilot maintain its audit trail with the front-end UI panel, or can I retrieve it end-to-end sequence in data table properties? How is this maintained, and what's the most optimal layer within the analyst to retrieve Copilot's outputs and prompts? That's a great question.
That is a great question. So right now, the best way to do it would be when your admin is setting up or configuring Copilot. I believe you can do it in the analyst as well. But yeah, so there is a way to basically have Copilot save the history as data tables. It's not going to save it directly in the panel. So if I were to close this panel and reopen it, at this point in time, it would just generate a new cleared panel. But you can set a setting where it will save your text history into a data table that can then be accessed just like any other data table.
Perfect. Okay, one more question before we move on to the architecture, and it's related to the exercise we did. If the Copilot can also create Iron Python scripts in a similar manner of the data function example.
Yeah, so we do have some documentation, just like how we had those OEE analytics documentation. We uploaded one just within our own internal environment on Iron Python. There's not as much Iron Python, scripting out in the world as there is, just Python or even R. So sometimes the LLMs struggle to generate as quality of code, and that's the case with all LLMs with what access that they have to various information. But it's definitely something that is possible and continue to be worked on, but it would definitely require more of the human in the loop. And I would say to think of it more as it's, guiding you rather than just creating it all for you in an instance and not needing any, revisions or looking over.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much, Evie. So now we have one more question. I'm going to show that questions while I switch to the architecture so that we can move on to the architecture and explain it. So
Perfect.
can we use other LLMs like self-hosted or other with Copilot?
Yeah, that's actually a perfect segue into the architecture diagram. So yes, Copilot, Spotfire Copilot is completely platform agnostic. We have some, LLMs that we have tested more against versus others, but all of the, various LLMs can essentially be plugged into Spotfire Copilot. So you can see that here in the LLMs portion on the top right-hand corner. That is an external service with, whichever LLMs are approved for you to use with your business applications. This gets plugged into our Spotfire Copilot Orchestrator, which is what we provide. And this contains different contexts, different system prompts, connections to the front end of Spotfire. And then it will also connect to any, retriever plugin. So this would be like a vector database to have your, different documentation, like the Spotfire documentation we showed, the OEE documentation we showed, even Iron Python documentation, and also any other, internal documents from your organization, internal manuals, technician notes, things like that can all be stored in a vector database and then queried with the orchestrator in the front end panel.
All right, awesome. Okay, let's get ready for the next demo. We have a couple of questions. This is a follow-up question for the other one that regarding the audit trail, or actually the Iron Python. So in other words, you can use Copilot to create or generate an action control.
At this point in time, no, action controls are not in the scope of what Copilot is able to create. But again, we're always looking to our customers, our users for to drive really that innovation and inspiration for what new Copilot features we have. So that's a great point.
Yeah, this is great. And then we have another one from Vivek that can we use local LLMs or self-hosted LLMs with Copilot?
Yes, it is possible. So that dives into the agnostic platform. Any LLM that can be, you can plug that in with the orchestrator and it can be used.
Yeah, some customers have they confuse because of the word Copilot and Microsoft. They associate it, but it has nothing to do with it, right?
No, so you don't need to have any dependencies on, any particular provider. It is the same name that's being used, or the same word, Copilot, but there's no other real connection there. It's really whichever LLMs are approved or allowed to be used within your organization.
Okay, perfect. So there aren't any more questions. Let's go to the next demo with Atir.
Okay. Okay, let me see if I can share my screen because I want to stop at the middle.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So where's your screen, Atir?
Bring it. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yeah. Let me. There we go. That's yours. Okay.
Yeah. So, yep. This is another use case on using the Copilot on unstructured documents in oil and gas. What we're gonna talk about right now is we parsed drilling reports from one of the open source data sets. That's the Field. For those who are not familiar with drilling reports, these are documents that are produced daily during the drilling operations, and then they can contain unstructured text, they can contain tables, images, or charts. So these are not, let's say, your kind of like typical tabular data sets. The same time, and then they contain a really valuable amount of information that you cannot, let's say, leave behind. with the Copilot, we're gonna parse this information and then try to make use of it, whether for the current operations or for the, let's say, upcoming future operation, just to make use of the lesson learned. Now, as AV explained in the architecture, the Copilot has this feature that called mode, which basically we are able to switch to a different vector database or like a different knowledge base. In our use case, we parsed all these drilling reports into a separate database that is called drilling reports. And then, so the first, we need to switch to that database, and then we start asking questions. Now, every, let's say, every response for these questions that we ask is going to come from this particular database. So we can start by asking how many wells in total that you have in your report. And then the Copilot will go to that, let's say, drilling report database that we switch to, and then we'll, let's say, uniquely count the number of wells. And then, as you saw in the previous responses, you will get citations where this is coming from. It also uh, outputs like any observations. For example, there are reports with this well, and like fewer reports for the other wells, which maybe like signifies that uh, these wells they took shorter to drill, or maybe these are like not main well bores, maybe side tracks or something. We can ask questions. Like what was the for example the depth of or the total depth of the first well. So the Copilot will also go and then assume that the first well is basically the well that came first, like number one, and then we'll go and then look up the total depth that was drilled for that well. And then this operation is basically includes going through all the reports for that specific well, and then accumulating all the drill depth, which sometimes in some days includes a zero value because for some reason they did not drill any depth. They were like waiting on weather to get better, or like waiting on some equipments. So that's also taken care of. And then you can see that we have two values for the depth. We have the vertical depth, and then also the measured depth. And then also the Copilot will output like any let's say observations or like any outliers within this question. And we can also ask questions about what like kind of like what type of formations that were observed during the drilling, and then this can be a long list because usually we see many formations across all the wells that we drilled specifically in this data set. But we can see that the response is fairly detailed here. So we have all the groups of the formations, and then we also have um, where these formations were observed. And then this is kind of complicated because usually the Copilot will go through all the operations breakdown per report and then try to extract the depth that a specific formation was observed on. And then this is nice because it was also reporting the MD and the TBD, so it gives you an idea where each formation is observed in this particular well, and you can do this for other wells. And then finally, you can, for example, output all these responses into a table, and then that will help you to create a correlation diagram to explain where, for example, a specific formation is thinning out, and then like where a specific formation is having, let's say, the maximum thickness. Especially if you're looking for, or like if you are interested on in the pay formation, or like the formation that has the hydrocarbons in it. One of the other also nice observation is the Copilot is able to decipher some industry jargon. So, for example, the WOW is waiting on weather in oil and gas, and you do not need to explain that. Just ask, are there any like WOW days during the drilling of this well? When? And the Copilot will go and then extract all the events that the crew was waiting on whether to get better in order to resume the operations. And then this is also nice because it will summarize all the non-productive time during a specific well, so you can, for example, quickly estimate how much it costed you when it comes to doing operations in bad weather. Um, this is also another example of um, asking, let's say, safety related questions. So we want to know if we are drilling a new well in the same vicinity, is this, let's say, a safe area? Was there any, let's say, safety related incidents happened previously, whether, let's say, it's a kind of human related or it's kind of formation related. So the Copilot will nicely break down all the incidents, or like all the safety related issues previously happened on this well. So you can see that we have stuck pipe incidents, which kind of like tell us something about the formation. We have some lost circulation where we kind of like pump fluid, but we're not getting any fluid back. Seems like the crew also faced some equipment issues previously, some instability. So these are all, let's say, items that any drilling engineer, like reservoir engineer, who's planning a new well, needs to keep in mind. And this is made possible because of the co-pilot was able to go quickly and grab all these and then nicely clean and break them down into a list that will be like available for the planning team if they're planning a new one. And then the list goes on and it breaks down all the incidents that happened in the past. And then you can also see that where this is coming from, which well, which documents this information coming from. The last question is like if we have any H2S gas issues, or like any H2S gas emissions. H2S is a very dangerous gas, and then I mean, it causes serious problems when there's like an emission in the well site. So we need to know if the crew faced such incident previously, and then the Copilot can also tell us if there are like any incidents, and we can see that there are a couple of incidents in the past of this gas emissions. So this was an example of using the Copilot to decipher, like to let's say parse information from unstructured documents, drilling reports in our example, and how we can use that to kind of like create a knowledge base that the crew can use for their planning the new wells. Back to you, Jose. I think you are on mute.
Jose, you're still on mute.
You're on mute, Jose. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I was having some background noises. That's why I forgot to unmute. But okay, so thank you, Atir, and everyone, because we just ran out of time. And remember that we have our YouTube channel at Dr. Spotfire. The first Tuesday of every month. You can also check our community page for past sessions. And also we have our community newsletter. Every quarter, you can scan the code, or you can just go to the URL at the top, so you can check for education and certification, news, live streams, and quick tips, quick tip videos from Dr. Spotfire, community events, extensions, new releases, feature articles, all of that. So yeah, just go ahead and join, and we'll keep you updated. It's every quarter. With that, that's it. Thank you so much for joining. You can reach us at dr@spotfire.com if you have any questions or any feedback, or any or the social media, especially the Spotfire community.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Okay.